In this video, we are back in New York City to visit a cocktail bar in the basement of a Michelin star steakhouse called Undercote. Come along with us as we try some of the food, including several cuts of steak, and sample some of their cocktails to see if this place is worth you giving a visit. Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are in the Flatiron neighborhood of New York City, and we're going to visit a cocktail bar that is located in the basement of Michelin star Korean steakhouse Cote, aptly named Undercote. Now, Undercote was opened in October 2018 by Simon Kim and David Shim, who are also the owners of Cote, which is located upstairs and was opened first. Now, I have been told that not only does Undercote have a steak menu, but that the steak served is the same as the steak served upstairs in the parent restaurant. If that's true, it means this might be the only cocktail bar in the city that serves Michelin star steak. Additionally, this could be a good hack to try some of Cote's steak if you couldn't snag a coveted table at the restaurant upstairs. So let's head on over there, and at the end of this video, we will confirm if that is true, as well as see what the differences are between Undercote and Cote, and then finally compare their steak to the steak at some of the top New York steakhouses. Also, we found one major issue with this cocktail bar. We will cover that at the end of the video, as well as tell you how to avoid it. So as we walk over, let's look at what people are saying online. On Yelp, they have a score of 4.0 with 100 reviews, and on Google, it's really good with 4.6 out of 151. Some positives mentioned are the atmosphere, drinks, and food. Some of the negatives were the prices, the drinks. Some people felt they were just mid, and also a few mentioned that they were too small. One even saying that they only give you an ounce of the mixed cocktail. So who is right, or is it a little bit of both? Let's find out and head on into Undercote. So now that we are all sat down, let's take a look at the menu here. I really like the look of it. They are keeping this kind of herbal botanical theme, although I do wish they would give you the little diagrams or pics of the drink, which some menus do. That is really helpful because it gives you an idea of how the drink is served. Now on to the cocktails. They have a selection of martinis and a few variations. They also have a special down here that looks really good. That's probably going to be my first drink, Year of the Snake. Overall, a good menu. However, for a dedicated cocktail bar, I would like to see more drinks. Really, you only have about 10, not counting the classic martinis and the reserve cocktails. This is such a good drink. The peatiness from the scotch combines real well with the tartness from the sour cherry. Then it's balanced out by the sweetness and acidity from the mandarin and blood orange. Finally, that Korean red ginseng adds a bitterness and earthiness that really adds depth and balances out the cocktail. This one's a home run. Now the first drink my wife got was called the Cola Nerve Tonic, and it was excellent. You get the spiciness of that rye, but then just a little bit of lightness from that lavender, though it's not too noticeable. Finding some bitterness from the Campari. I really love the spray. It really adds an aromatic quality to the cocktail, along with some hints of vanilla. So looking at the food menu here, I decided to get as an appetizer that's chicken nuggets. They look really good. Then they have a bunch of choices for meat. In the past, I tried the filet mignon, but today we'll try the dry-aged ribeye and the American Wagyu Cote steak. Those look good. We will get the larger portion, which I was told is 8 ounces on one occasion, and then between 8 and 10 on another occasion. So it looks like our appetizer is here first. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we got that sweet and tangy chicken nuggets. These are really delicious, perfectly cooked with that delicious gochujang glaze. I hope I said that right. Think of it as an elevated sweet and sour chicken. This is delicious and a must order on the menu. So I wanted a drink to sit with my steak, and what better than the Players Club, which is a martini variation. This one is really well balanced. You get the botanicals from the gin, the sherry is a nice touch, but what really makes this drink is the herbis. It pulls everything together and has this light, herbal, floral, slightly minty quality that elevates this cocktail. Perfect for a steak. Well, it looks like our steak is here, and not only does it look delicious, but it smells amazing. I wish you could smell it. On the left there, you have the dry-aged ribeye, and then on the right is the American Wagyu Cote steak. Then something that is really cool about Undercote is like upstairs they serve it Korean style, which means you get a bunch of sides. Here we have rice, sauce, lettuce leaves, and a kind of salad, which I'm not sure what it's called, but it was delicious. Now back to our two steaks here. I first tried the prime rib, and I have to say, it was delicious. I got a little bit of that funky dry aged flavor, though I could have used slightly more. Also, it is cooked right at medium rare. So that's exactly how I like it. Now let's try the Cote steak. This one I have to say was my favorite. It had a perfect crust, even better than the crust on the prime rib, and I actually liked the way it was cooked even better also. It was a little closer to rare, but for me that was perfect. It also had a really good flavor, and it was oh so tender and really nice and juicy, as you can see in the video. Then we decided to try eating it more traditional Korean barbecue style. So we are doing that right here, though I'm not sure we did it the way you are supposed to. I put down a lettuce leaf as the base and then put some of the Cote steak on that. I then put some rice on top of that. Then some of this salad mixture here that you can see. And finally, I put a bit of that really good sauce. I probably should have put the sauce at the bottom on the steak, or at least on the rice. Let me know in the comments the best way to do this. Then once you have it all together like this, you fold it up almost like a taco and give it a try. This was really good. I did enjoy it. However, for me, the flavor of this steak is just too good to cover up, so I decided to treat the toppings like a side because they are really good as well, and eat the steak separately because I really want to enjoy the flavor. Now this drink is called Illusions, and when I saw them make this drink for someone else, I just had to order it. I wanted to show you guys this presentation. However, it's also not just presentation, but a really good drink. The lemon shines through along with the apple, then a little bit of the bitterness and florals from the Cote Rosa, along with the botanicals from the gin tie it all together and temper any tendency for it to get too tart or sweet. I'm really glad I ordered it. Now my wife ordered the Players Club. Sadly it's from the reserve part of the menu, however it was worth it. It's an Alaska variation. I love the combination of the smokiness of the mezcal combined with the freshness of the cilantro. Then that special limited edition yellow chartreuse adds a touch of honey sweetness along with an herbal depth, giving the drink a bit more complexity. Definitely a home run. This along with Year of the Snake was probably my two favorite drinks we had tonight. To conclude, we were brought some dessert, which appears to be included as part of the whole experience. So you definitely get a lot of bang for your buck. This was a delicious vanilla soft serve with caramel soy sauce syrup on top, incredible flavors, and the perfect way to end the meal. Well, it looks like we are all done and ready to head out. So what are the positives, neutral, and negative of this cocktail bar? Well, for the positive, we have service, atmosphere, food, and drinks. For the neutral, we just have one, pre-batch drinks. Now for the negatives, we have small menu, cocktail variety, pricing, and unreliable hours. To explain what I mean by cocktail variety, I felt that while they did have some stirred drinks on the menu, they leaned very heavy into lighter citrus, herbal, and floral flavors. While I really enjoyed that, I felt that they could have used more darker and deeper drinks, especially during the winter months. However, the biggest negative is the last point, which is that they are closed too much for private parties. In fact, I'm going to go into a little more detail on that in my final thoughts. However, how about those questions we asked at the beginning? Is this the same steak as you get upstairs at Cote? Well, I asked multiple people and they all confirmed that absolutely it's the same steak and the same kitchen. So you are having Michelin star steak at a cocktail bar, maybe the only standalone cocktail bar in the city to have that. That means if you can't snag a reservation for upstairs, you can still try some of the same steak down here. Now that being said, there are some differences between Cote and Undercote steak. The main difference is the way it's served. Cote uses a system where they cook the meat in front of you. This is a really cool and unique experience, so you do miss out in that area. Also, from looking at the menu, it seems like Cote has more variety and cuts of meat than Undercote, so you do get more choices upstairs. Also, you do, I believe, get more sides, though they do the menu a bit different upstairs, so I'm not 100% sure how the sides work. I will confirm when I'm able to give Cote a visit. I did notice that they do not have the delicious chicken on the menu. For that, you have to go to Undercote. Now, while Undercote isn't a steakhouse, so I'm not going to go too crazy in my comparison here, I do have to say that it was on par with the steak at some of the top New York steakhouses. The prime rib, I would say, is tied with places such as Hawksmoor and Delmonico's, though I will say that I need to return to a few of these spots to re-review them. It's been some time since I have visited, and I may have recency bias. The Cote steak was one of the best steaks I've had in the past several years, including anything I've had at Hawksmoor. Though it is an American Wagyu, so I'm not sure it's the best comparison since I didn't have a similar cut at the other steakhouses. The filet mignon, which you can see here from another visit, was the only cut that I felt fell slightly short of what I had at some of the other steakhouses I've been to. It was tender, and the flavor was good. However, I felt it was cooked medium, not medium rare like I asked for. Also, the crust could have been slightly better. Don't get me wrong though, it was still delicious, just fell slightly behind some of the other spots. This is most likely not a problem though if you had it upstairs, since they cook it for you right there and you can make sure it's not overcooked. From a pricing standpoint, I found it to be equal to or slightly better value than some of the other steakhouses depending upon what cut you get. I think the addition of the extra sides and dessert also contribute to that. However, you do have less choice. Also, if you like more traditional New York City steakhouse sides, such as potatoes, creamed spinach, etc., then you might be disappointed because they don't have these. As for the reviews, for the most part, as you saw from my ratings, I agree with the positive reviews. Also, I would like to address the review that stated that the drinks were just an ounce. That's not true. I sat at the bar and paid special attention, and as you can see from this video, they are about a standard 3 ounces or so. So I don't know what happened in that person's specific situation, but that wasn't what we observed in any of our visits here. The only area where we agreed with the negative reviews was the pricing of the cocktails. I felt that they were a bit more expensive than comparable cocktail bars in the area. However, overall, our experience was extremely positive. So what are our final thoughts on Undercote? Well, we really enjoyed it and will definitely be back. The service was next level, everybody was super friendly and helpful, and really they went above and beyond to give us good service. We loved it. The drinks are also excellent. Then the food we had, it was fantastic. That chicken is a must-order appetizer, and to be able to have steak of that quality in a cocktail bar is very rare and a really good option. If you live in New York, I definitely recommend giving this place a try, especially if you like steak. However, that is if you are actually able to find them open. Why do I say that? Well, despite the positive review, Undercote has one major issue, which I said I would talk about at the beginning of this video. That issue is they always seem to be closed for a private party. Just this last week, I checked and they were closed 3 times. 2 of the 3 were same-day announcements on Instagram. This makes it very difficult to plan a visit here, and even more difficult if you need to plan further ahead to bring guests. Also, this means if you do not follow them on Instagram, or at least know to check their story, then you won't even know if they are closed. That's a major problem. So, pro tip, if you want to avoid this situation when you're planning a visit to Undercote, watch their Instagram story like a hawk, or you will show up and be turned away like happened to us several times. As a result, as much as we enjoy this cocktail bar and do recommend it in terms of service and overall quality, we find ourselves rarely visiting it due to this issue. Now, if you are a tourist visiting, then this issue is even a bigger problem, since many tourists have limited time and are following some sort of schedule. So while normally I would recommend tourists putting this spot on their must-visit list, especially if you love steak, the tendency for them to be closed so much could really throw off your plans. So I would only go here if you are already dining at Cote or if you are flexible and line up a backup plan. Either way, be sure to keep an eye on Undercote's Instagram page for that last-minute private party announcement, which sometimes comes in the early afternoon, so right before they open of the same day. So you need to be prepared to pivot to another option with only a few hours to spare. All that being said, if you are flexible or able to find them open, then you're in for an excellent experience. Well, those are our final thoughts on Undercote. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please let us know what you think or if you have any questions or thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please click like, subscribe, and that bell icon so you get notified of new videos, and most importantly, always drink responsibly. Thank you for watching, and please join us again on Boozy Explorers.